Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm back with Aiden once again,
Hello, everyone.
and today we're going to be ranking all of the Phase 4 TV shows that are on Disney+. So let's get right into it. I think we both know what's coming, but what have you got at number 8?
At number 8, I got She-Hulk.
Surprise,
I think it's
surprise.
pretty obvious. I
Yeah,
think we both have it at number 8. It's such a bad show. It's not
it's...
even something I can defend.
Yeah,
It's just not even. There's nothing to it I can defend. Maybe Scar and Hulk, but even then, they weren't even that good.
yeah, other than
Like,
Daredevil, I mean... And
oh yeah, of course, Daredevil was
yeah,
good,
Daredevil was good.
and that sets up a lot. But other than Daredevil, I think the CGI was terrible.
Oh yeah,
The
100%.
fourth wall breaks they were awful. They were so
Yeah,
bad. There was too much of it,
yeah, way too
especially
much.
in the
Yeah,
finale.
the finale was a fourth wall break.
Yeah, they went overboard. Like they went too overboard.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. The villain, there wasn't even a real villain of it, to
Yeah,
be honest.
exactly. Her villain was anti-feminism. Woohoo!
Yeah, there's no plot. There's no character development. There's just nothing. Abomination was terrible as well.
Yeah, he was ruined.
Yeah, we went from seeing him in obviously the first Hulk film in The Incredible Hulk to
Yeah,
what we saw in She-Hulk. It just wasn't good at all.
it was just horrible.
Yeah, I don't really want them to do a season 2.
Yeah, if they do a season 2, it's the biggest mistake Disney's ever made. I mean,
Yeah,
it'd just be stupid. I mean,
and if she's in the new Avengers as well, then
oh
oh,
yeah, right.
I
If
can't.
it's
It'll be
it's just
awful.
dead already. I mean,
I mean, you shouldn't do as many fourth wall breaks. I think it could be good, but
it could
she could.
be.
There's
I
a good
mean,
character there. Of course, there's a good character there. But
yeah, there's good potential, but they'll probably ruin it.
yeah, I think the writers they got were just. I don't know. Maybe they were just too comedic, or
Yeah, there's.
they have a side of it. I don't know.
My theory is that because Thor Ragnarok did so well, and that was like introducing a funny side, they're now trying to overdo it in everything
Yeah,
else.
yeah,
And Thor Ragnarok was kind of like a one-off comedy movie that people like to watch, and now they're just trying too hard.
yeah. So assuming your number 8 is She-Hulk, is there anything you want to add on to
I
the show?
mean, there's not much else to say except for there is actually one scene that you missed, which was I think cinematic perfection, and
All
that
right.
was Megan the Stallion and She-Hulk working in the office. You know,
Oh yes, of course, of course. That was
yeah.
better than every scene we saw in Endgame.
Like
I
portal
think.
scene, get out of the way. Megan the
Yeah.
Stallion's in MCU now. I mean, it was just perfection.
No, but in all
In all
seriousness, though,
seriousness,
there was no
it
need
was
for
just
her to even be in
irrelevant.
the first place.
I was so excited. Finally, a post-credit scene, and it was that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think you have a video coming out on the channel maybe about She-Hulk in the future.
Yeah,
Um, I just and where you probably explain it better in a full
yeah,
depth video,
yeah. I've
but
got a full depth of She-Hulk that will be up at some point. Um,
yeah,
but yeah,
the
there's
show,
nothing else to say. I don't think
yeah,
it's
the
just
show just there's no plot. It's just I think it should. I don't even think it should be ranked on this list to be
yeah.
honest. But
I think we should do 7-1, and just
yeah,
She-Hulk is not here.
I feel like the MCU movies like the same amount. But,
Yeah,
She-Hulk just shouldn't be there.
exactly. There's one too
If
many
he
shows
appears in
anyway.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, like it's rumored, I don't know how it would work. I know the leader's supposed to be the villain of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but then again, there's supposed to be a lot of villains of, obviously Captain America 4, sorry, not
Yeah,
Falcon and Winter Soldier. But yeah, I don't know. It wouldn't. I don't think it would really be good for her to be in it unless they change her character in it. Then I think that would be a bit better. But
I don't get how she would link in with it as well. I
yeah,
mean,
maybe with Red Hulk and the leader, I think it would make sense. But
yeah. I
because
mean, maybe one of them
I
gets a
guess
lawyer or
Captain America
something.
4. Yeah, but I guess Captain America 4 might be a crossover movie, which is how She-Hulk will be in it, but I just don't want her to be in it, to be honest.
Yeah, it would just be a wait. It would just
I sort of
ruin the
hope they just
movie.
forget about She-Hulk, to be honest.
Yeah, she's just kind of on the side, or she dies in Kang Dynasty. I wouldn't mind that, but
Well, yeah, but you
it
just
won't
keep
be
on
that.
making awful breaks.
Yeah. Okay, so what have you got in number 7?
At number 7, I have Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Um, I think it wasn't a bad show. It wasn't a horrible show, but compared to other shows that we've had in Phase 4, I just don't think it compares to them.
Yeah.
I thought the villains were terrible, to be honest. The Flag Smashers, they have a terrible name, and we didn't really see their backstory because I can't remember what their whole point was. I think it was to do with like the blip or
Yeah,
something.
but like everyone came together during the blip, and then after that, it just went back to normal, and they were like,
Yeah,
"No, it's not fair."
Yeah, and that just I said they didn't really show a backstory for it. Maybe if they showed a backstory for that, it would have made more sense and gave more emotion to the movement, I guess.
Yeah,
But there wasn't really much emotion towards the movement that they had. I mean, there was no empathy for the villain either. Like at the end, I don't really think because we didn't get to know her that much throughout the show. Carly, I think her name was.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think her character was great. We also had other villains as well throughout the show. I thought Isaiah Bradley is it? The Captain America who he speaks to. When Falcon becomes Captain America, they sort of like doubt him.
Oh yeah,
Uh, I thought that was good. That storyline was really good.
yeah,
Because they didn't really know about him becoming Captain America because it was different, changing from Steve Rogers to obviously Falcon, and or Sam. It was hard to see. So it was nice to see that the transition, but
yeah,
I just don't. Obviously, seeing Bucky as well going through what he was like going off the Winter Soldier storyline from his
yeah. Like his
past. I thought that was
PTSD.
good to see. Yeah, I thought that was nice to see. Um, but other than that, I think it maybe sets up the future for the Thunderbolts as well. Obviously, it doesn't really have a big impact on the multiverse saga, but I guess it has a big impact on other things, like I said, like Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts and stuff like that. But overall, as a show, I don't think it's a horrible show, but I just don't think it can compare to other shows that we've seen, just because there wasn't a really good villain to it.
Yeah,
And I think the suit looks great, though. I thought the Bucky's arm as well, obviously, that we saw from Infinity War, I thought both of their suits look great in that show.
yeah. I like the designs in it.
Yeah, and the interaction between Sam and Bucky was nice to see as well. That was really cool because they have a really good friendship in that show, and even before the show came out, they had a good friendship or a
Yeah,
friendship that was growing anyway.
like that's the level
And
of comedy we need in Marvel. We don't need it
yeah,
overdone. Like the level of comedy versus action in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that was perfectly balanced. I think.
yeah. So yeah, overall, I think it's a decent show, but like I said, compared to the other shows that we've seen in Phase Four, I just don't think the storyline. Like I think obviously compared to She-Hulk, there's actually a plot there. There's
Yeah,
actually a good story to it, but like, yeah, I thought it was a good show or a decent show, but I just don't think it was anything special.
yeah.
So what's your number seven?
My
Yep.
number seven is also Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The exact
Yep.
same thing as you said. Like with the
Yeah.
Flag Smashers, I feel instead of being an actual like enemy group, they're more of an inconvenience whilst they were trying to deal with John Walker.
Oh yeah, of
Um,
course, I part John Walker.
yeah, like John Walker, he was. I liked his character so much that I don't like him. If you get what I mean. Like
Yeah,
he did a good job at being kind of. We kind of
an
thought he was
asshole as a
going. Yeah, he was an
character.
asshole. He was just really
Yeah, which
annoying. Like he went from being a nuisance to being like, wait, no, I'm Captain America. I should have the same strength as Captain America. And then
yeah.
he just went crazy from it, and he became the
I
actual
I, I
villain.
like that storyline though. To be honest, when Carly killed his best friend and she sort of like didn't really care because all she cared about was her movement,
Yeah,
and that obviously triggered him as a character, which brought out another side of him. And
exactly. Yeah,
obviously, we're going to see more of that in Thunderbolts, I think, because that's probably a reason why Val hired him because she sees a vulnerable side in him.
yeah. Because the
Which,
super soldier serum obviously enhances everything, even the bad
yeah,
stuff. That's why they chose Steve Rogers. So,
yeah,
that deep feeling inside of him that just wanted to kill everyone and have power. That's probably going to be used a lot in the Thunderbolts.
yeah,
But another thing with Bucky, I don't know how they're actually gonna get him into the Thunderbolts because
yeah. I
um,
agree. Yeah,
I don't know how they're going to do it because he, as you see in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he's been excused of all of his crimes as the Winter Soldier. So, I
yeah.
mean, there's not really a reason for him
I
to be
think
in there.
I think I said it in the video the other day as well about I thought well, a while before when we found out about Bucky being in the Thunderbolts. I think it kind of ruins his because I feel like he actually did have a good character development in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I feel like
Yeah,
out of all these shows, I think he did have a really good character development,
yeah, he
and
redeemed
obviously the
himself.
whole yeah, and the whole I guess point of Phase Four is dealing with grief and stuff, as Kevin Feige said.
Yeah,
So I thought that it touched on that really well with Bucky. But I just don't understand Marvel Studios' reasoning to have him as a Thunderbolt, seeing the
yeah,
development seen in him. I just don't think it makes much sense, but maybe we're going to see why he joins them. But yeah.
yeah. So, what's your number six?
So number six might be a bit controversial, but then again, I have seen a lot of people have their opinions on this, and I have Hawkeye at number six.
Oh,
Um, I think Hawkeye was a good show for what it was. It was more of a a Christmas type show, I guess you could say, when it
Yeah.
came out. But for what it gave us, with what we saw in the Black Widow post credit scene of Yelena hunting down Hawkeye, obviously because Val sort of blackmailed her, saying that she kills Clint when obviously that didn't happen. I thought that was really cool to see in the Hawkeye show. Obviously it wasn't really the main plot because we had two sort of storylines going on at the same time with Hawkeye, which I guess sort of ruined some parts of it. Obviously we had Kingpin in that show, and I thought it was great. Obviously seeing him in the future of the MCU with Daredevil as well, I think it's going to be really cool to see.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought Hawkeye was a decent show for it being a Christmas show as well. At the time, it was really nice to have at that sort of time because also we had No Way Home coming out. So I thought it was good to see. I also think Kate Bishop was a good thing to come out of that show.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's going to be a part of the young event, or maybe the main Avengers team. We don't really know yet where everything's going to go with the young Avengers and the main Avengers. But yeah, I thought she is a good person to get to take over as for Hawkeye, as we see in the comics and other things we see Kate Bishop in, like the Avengers game. But
Oh.
but yeah, I think overall, I think Hawkeye was a decent show, which I wouldn't say the same with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think it's a show that was okay, but it wasn't anything special.
Yeah.
I do like a lot with Hawkeye though. I do think it sets up a lot, especially with the Spider-Man, where Spider-Man's going to go with Kingpin and more of a street level thing. I know obviously Spider-Man's going to be in Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, but I feel like this show does sort of set up with that is if Kate Bishop's going to appear in that and other street level movies and shows. But
Yeah. Probably
yeah,
with the
overall,
X-Men.
I think overall, I think Hawkeye is a decent show. Not anything special like Falcon and Winter Soldier, but it has its good moments.
Yeah.
So, what do you have for at number 6?
I mean, obviously, I'll talk about Hawkeye more when I get to it, but
Yeah.
at number 6, I have What If. And
Ooh, that's controversial.
yeah, I know. It's, for me, if you look at every single episode of it, compared to the amount there is, there's only a few that I like. So, like, the Doctor Strange episode is obviously my
Okay,
favourite
yeah,
because I
yeah,
love Doctor
I
Strange.
agree with that. Yeah,
But there's actually more episodes than I thought there were.
yeah,
But they're not all as good as each other. Well, obviously. But, like, the first episode, Captain Carter, I love that one. But then
yeah,
after, like, there's good episodes, obviously, but there's some that you just forget exist. Like, I've got a list up now. Like, when the Avengers all died, I kind of forgot that one existed. And where Killmonger helped Tony. The only ones you really remember is the finale, the two final ones, the Ultron and
yeah,
the big fight, the Doctor Strange, and zombies and Captain Carter. And I mean, there's 9 episodes, and I know that's most of the episodes, but I feel for it to be higher on my list, every episode needs to bring something to the table just because they're separate stories.
yeah.
I
I
think if
get
it,
what you mean.
yeah, I think if it was one linear story going how it is, then it would be better. But I obviously it can't be a linear story because it's loads of different universes.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think it's a nice show to watch because you don't have to watch it in any specific order, except for the finale.
hmm
But I don't think it's one that. I mean, I know it adds a lot to the MCU, but at the same time, we're kind of seeing the multiverse anyway.
yeah,
So in reality, the only thing that I really care about from it was Infinity, Ultron, and Strange Supreme,
yeah,
and the zombies. But that's coming out as a separate project soon. So really, the good episodes, like the zombies episode, is a good episode, but it's really just setting up another project.
yeah. I will talk about What If later when I obviously get into it on my rankings.
Yeah,
But I agree with some of the things you said about What If. Um, I think obviously it not being a linear story is sort of hard for it
yeah,
to succeed compared to other shows that we've seen in Phase 4. But yeah, I do get what you mean.
yeah. I just feel like zombies and Killmonger helping Tony Stark, they're open ended as well, which really probably knocked it down a few places just because it's so annoying you can't see how it ended. Like,
Yeah,
I know zombies is probably going to be finished in the other project or something, or season 2 maybe, but Killmonger rescuing Tony Stark, you kind of just see Shuri and Pepper meet at the end, and then in the finale you see Wakanda's burning to the ground, and you're like, What's going on?
Yeah,
You don't
like
know
you
what
said with
happened.
zombies. Yeah, like you said with zombies. Obviously, at the end of that, we saw Thanos, zombie Thanos, with the
Yeah,
Infinity Stones. I think that's either going to be in season two, or they're going to do that with Marvel Zombies, the show, as you said.
yeah.
Um,
Because
but I think if they do it as season two, I think that would be really cool to see. Obviously, I think with season two, they're going to go off some of the storylines that were in season one, which is obviously going to be very cool to see as well. Because I
yeah,
think they are thinking about doing a season three of What If as well. So
yeah,
I'm not sure how it's all going to go, but I'll talk about it more later when I get into it.
yeah. Okay, so what have you got in fifth?
So at number five, I have Miss Marvel. That might be controversial as well because I know a lot of people enjoyed Miss Marvel, and I'm not saying I
Hmm.
didn't enjoy it because I did enjoy Miss Marvel a lot. I think it was different to what we've seen in the MCU before. Obviously, I think with the shows they were going to go different because we never really seen because with Disney Plus now, we obviously get more shows, so they can be a bit different. And with Miss Marvel, I think they did really well with that. Um, I think a lot of people may not like it because it's based around kids, I guess, which I know a lot of Marvel fans now don't really like a lot of that, which I can agree with to an extent. And with Miss Marvel, I thought that it had its good moments as well, especially confirming the mutants in the MCU or confirming Miss Marvel as a mutant, which
Yeah,
was very cool to see. Um, I thought the villains they weren't very. I didn't enjoy the villains of Miss Marvel to be honest.
yeah. They were kind of crap. I think.
Yeah, obviously, it did go over time travel though, which I did quite enjoy a bit in that show because obviously we're getting the multiverse saga, which is all about time travel, the multiverse.
Yeah,
So I did enjoy hearing about obviously hearing about time travel and I guess going over what time travel is because they did talk about it briefly in Miss Marvel, which was nice to hear. But I think it's like I would say it's like Hawkeye and or not She Hulk. It's definitely not like
no,
She Hulk.
nothing is
It's
like
definitely not like
She-Hulk.
She Hulk. Yeah, I think it's like Falcon and the Soldier. It has a good storyline, or has a decent storyline. I think it is obvious. Like I have it higher on the list, so obviously to me better than both of them. But I think it does have its moments, and it does have its special moments as well, especially with the mutants. Well, the mutants confirmed as well.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I just didn't really enjoy the villains. I think the show started off very slow as well, which sort of ruined it for me.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, also I feel it sets up the Marvels as well. This obviously Captain Marvel 2 very well with the post credit scene, which was awesome to see Carol Danvers appear in the post credit scene. Obviously, we know Monica Rambeau is going to be in it as well. But we obviously didn't see her in Miss Marvel, but I'm sure we're going to learn more in Captain Marvel 2.
yeah,
But overall, I think Miss Marvel was an okay show. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm not saying it's really good. I just think it's a decent show, and I really did enjoy Miss Marvel's suit design as well. I think she has an awesome suit in the show, and I can't wait to see her suit again in Captain Marvel 2.
yeah,
But yeah, that's my opinions on Miss Marvel, and also the fight scenes as well. At times they were okay.
yeah,
Like the fight scenes were okay at some points, but I don't know. Sometimes they just didn't feel right, and also when they got out of the damage control area as well, they got out so easily, which I still don't understand to this day how they got out so easily. They
yeah,
sort of just walked up the stairs and just left. And
yeah,
we see in She-Hulk. I know obviously She-Hulk's not a good show, but I think they present damage control pretty well, and also I think No Way Home presents damage control pretty well as well. I feel like
yeah.
they're a good organization, and it just didn't really show that in Miss Marvel, but. Yeah, those are my thoughts on Miss Marvel. And what do you have at number five?
I actually have WandaVision at number five.
Oh,
Which
that is
I
very
know
controversial.
a lot of people love WandaVision, but I mean, I loved it at the time when it was coming out, and I
Yeah.
think if we were back then, I'd rank it so much higher. It's
Uh huh.
just you look back at it, and it takes so long to get started. I mean,
Mm,
like,
I get. Now thinking about it now, what I can remember, I think obviously episode one and two, they started off with the black and white, didn't they? Those
yeah,
two episodes. I can agree that they did start off pretty slow on that.
and I think my main problem with it is because of Paul Bettany, the actor of Vision. He said there was going to be a huge cameo in WandaVision, and everyone was so excited. They're like, "Oh, who's it going to be? Maybe Strange comes in or something." And when he was actually just talking about himself coming back as Vision, um,
Yeah. I
But
mean, Doctor Strange was supposed to be in one division, but
yeah,
obviously Kevin Feige and the writers took him out, which I think Doctor Strange, it would have made a lot of sense for Multiverse of Madness as well, seeing that she was the villain of that. So it would have made sense for Doctor Strange to appear. But
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it does set up a fair amount, with the new Vision and
yeah,
Agatha, which I think Agatha actually being the villain was very cool. I did like that a lot.
yeah,
With
yeah.
the song and everything.
Yeah, that was we didn't expect it either.
Yeah, yeah, it's because it was Agatha all along.
Exactly.
And obviously with Pietro, him coming back.
Yeah,
Um, but I think my main problem with it, like I said, was that it took a long time to actually get into it. And when you did eventually get to the final bit, it was anticlimactic. I think the Vision versus Vision fight was very good. I did like that because Vision is a very like wise and modest character. So the way
yeah,
that they would fight it out is by talking instead of fighting the entire time. I know they did fight at first. Um, but the Wanda versus Agatha, the only good thing about that was the reveal of the Scarlet Witch costume. I
yeah.
mean,
I agree with that. I thought the fight was pretty slow. I think you could
yeah,
say, especially when they got into the sky. Like the sky when they started like
yeah, with the
you know,
runes and stuff.
yeah. I thought that was really slow. It wasn't really a good battle to be honest because Wanda sort of tricked her
Yeah,
it's and then yeah, it just went from there. She got the powers of the Scarlet Witch fully.
yeah. I mean, I like the fact that they introduced Monica Rambeau with powers. They brought back Darcy and Jimmy Woo because Jimmy Woo
Oh, that
is
yeah, that was cool.
strongest
Yeah,
MCU character ever. He
oh, of
could
course.
solo anyone.
Jimmy
Um,
Woo and Wong.
yeah,
They need to make a show.
but with Billy and Tommy, they set up Multiverse of Madness basically,
Yeah,
and but other than setting things up, I don't think the show was that good. I mean, it was funny at some points, but that's because it was based off of sitcoms.
that is very controversial. I'll be surprised if
Yeah, I
what people
mean,
say about that.
just wait till till you hear what I say next, and then
Oh
Uh,
no.
but yeah, I think WandaVision, it was good at the time. Everyone was like, "Oh, there was a bug on the wall, so that means Mephisto's in it," and then he just wasn't. Um,
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, I remember all the Mephisto rumors.
yeah, there were so many rumors, so many huge theories,
Yeah.
and because of them, it was anticlimactic. If there wasn't any huge rumors with like Mephisto and stuff like that, I think the show would be better for me because I'd remember it better and more honestly. But I
Yeah.
remember it as being so good, and now I look back at it and I'm like, it wasn't actually that good.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with some of the things you said, but I definitely don't agree. I'll,
Yeah.
I'll explain later. I'll explain when I get to my ranking of One Division later on.
What have you got for your number four?
So at number four, I don't know if it's the same as yours. It's probably not. But at number four, I have Moon Knight.
Moon Knight.
Um, I think I think that is very controversial to be honest,
I
because
think
I
it
know a
is.
lot
Yeah.
of people like Moon Knight. I
A lot of
know a
people
lot of
think
people
it's the
love Moon
best.
Knight. Yeah, a lot of people think it's well, arguably one of the best MCU projects in Phase Four out of what we've got.
Yeah.
I think it was a really good show. I think the story was good. The suit design for Moon Knight was absolutely incredible. It looks so good, especially after all the complaints Marvel get for CGI. I think Moon Knight did pretty well on that.
Yeah.
The villain Arthur Harrow, I thought he was a really good villain to see. Um, the fight scenes were good as well in Moon Knight. I feel the last battle especially was really good. I think Moon Knight fighting just as himself is just really cool to see. It's nice to see the different sides of Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, and
Yeah.
obviously we didn't really see much of Jake Lockley, but I think if they do a season two, we'll see much more.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I think overall, I think Moon Knight was a good show. It's obviously a lot better than obviously the previous shows, obviously because it's in my top four. But I think it has a good story. It has a much better story than a lot of Phase Four shows we've seen. But I don't know. I ranked it lower because I guess the shows I put above it I enjoy personally a bit more. Maybe if you ask me again another time, I think my third and fourth, well, Moon Knight and third are probably changeable. You could probably change them around pretty easily. But I don't know. I like to see Moon Knight more, and I probably would enjoy season one more if we get a season two.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Arthur Harrow, like I said, a really cool villain. I was a bit confused. Did they lock? I can't remember his. uh, God's who the God was that was locked to Arthur Harrow. But when they killed Arthur Harrow at the end, does that mean that that God releases, or was it because it was locked to his soul or his body? It means it can't like get released.
Yeah, I think once they die, I can't remember. I think it was because they weren't like where all the rest of the gods were. It can't get. I don't know. I need to rewatch Moon Knight to be fair.
I think it's because I think it might have been because uh, I can't remember the god's name for that was linked to Arthur Harrow. It's blank. It's out
What
of my
was
mind.
it?
But
I
I
can't
think
remember
it's
either.
because it was locked to his body. Like because it was him, they locked it to his body, and then obviously Khonshu got Jake Lockley to kill Arthur Harrow. I think that's why that god died. But speaking about Khonshu, I thought Khonshu was absolutely amazing in that show. That he looked incredible. Like I said with CGI, I thought they did him very well.
Yeah.
The voice was menacing as well, especially to Stephen Grant, because at the start of the show, I thought the show started really well. I'm making a lot of points here to say that it should be higher. I'm not saying a lot of points to say it should be lower. Um, but I think the show started well. You know, with Stephen, it started off with Stephen Grant, as we thought it would start with Mark Spector,
Yeah.
as we know from the comics, more than Stephen Grant. Um, we thought it was going to start with Mark Spector, and it starts off with Stephen Grant, and it starts off very fast because he doesn't know what's going on, and obviously because he has a menacing voice, so you know he's just yeah. I just there's a lot I love about Moon Knight, um, but I don't know. I just prefer the shows that I put above it.
Yeah.
So what's your number four?
My number four is Miss Marvel, um,
Fair
which I
enough.
know putting that above WandaVision probably isn't the most popular opinion, but
Yeah,
I mean Miss Marvel, I feel as a show itself, not talking about stuff that it can bring into the MCU or stuff that from the MCU that's in the show, just looking at it as a solo project compared to WandaVision, I just prefer Miss Marvel. I do like how it's the first like proper representation of other religions
yeah,
like Muslims in the MCU. It was nice to see that you know them representing different communities. And Aman Vellani did an amazing job acting as Kamala. And
yeah.
just random parts of this show, just they were just amazing. I don't know why. I can't explain it. But like the last the end scene when they're all in the school trying to get out and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
that scene was really
I think
good.
yeah, that was cool. Yeah,
And I feel a lot of people don't like this show because it's based for kids. Like it's based at a younger audience. Um,
yeah.
but personally, I still like it because I mean I can't explain it fully. I just love the show. I feel Miss Marvel is
I
a
get what you
great
mean. Yeah,
character with it's also introducing X-Men and the mutants and stuff like that. Um, and yeah, like you said, the villains aren't very good.
yeah. I
I
think they could
feel
have had
if
better.
if they had like a proper villain, then I think it possibly no, I don't think it would be higher, but it would be a
It'd
definite
be a
number
better show,
four.
I feel.
Yeah, I think number four and number five are swappable for me, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I think she had good character development as well. I think Kamala did have good
yeah,
character development in that, and I think her development is going to go even further as well in Captain Marvel 2,
yeah,
as we're going to see. I think it comes out in May or this year, I think. So
yes.
I can't wait to see her in that. But yeah, I can understand why you have it in fourth. But yeah,
So down to our top three. What have you got for your third option?
so for third place, I've got What If.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed What If. I think it's a lot different to what we've seen in the MCU before. A lot of companies would love to be able to make a What If show. Obviously, pointing that at Star Wars, I think Star Wars would be incredible to have a What If.
yeah,
But keeping to Marvel, I think having What If in the MCU is amazing to see. It also opens up the multiverse even more, showing the possibilities that we can see in Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars in the future of the MCU and the multiverse saga. I think I do agree with what you said earlier about some of the episodes did get a bit boring, but I think a lot of the episodes that were in What If were most memorable. Like a lot of the episodes were memorable over the
yeah,
ones that were pretty boring. Like Doctor Strange, the What If that episode that was amazing. I
yeah.
think it's probably one of the best. It's like big to say, but it's probably one of the best story plots we've had in the MCU just
Oh yeah,
alone. It was just amazing to see, and yeah, I hope we see him later on in the MCU. if we see the Guardians of the Multiverse ever again, maybe if we see them in season 2, or maybe even if we see them in live action, that would be really cool to see.
That would be really
Uh,
cool.
yeah, because we've seen a lot of Doctor Strange variants, so I would not be surprised if we see if we see Strange Supreme, or no, yeah, we see that Doctor Strange variant in the MCU because that was just really cool to see. Obviously, Marvel Zombies as well. I thought that was a really good episode. Um,
Yeah,
Having the cliffhanger at the end as well. I think it sets up big possibilities, maybe with the Marvel Zombie show, or if they do it in season 2 as a episode or like a part 2 to the first part.
yeah,
But yeah, I thought that the last 2 episodes as well with Infinity Ultron, he is such a menacing villain that he's so overpowered that we're never going to see him in live action because
yeah.
he's
He's
just
just too
too
strong.
overpowered. And I'm surprised he didn't break into more universes than he actually did. Obviously, he had a fight with the Watcher, which it was an amazing fight scene to
Yeah,
see in What If. Obviously, Ultron he got so powerful that he could see the Watcher. I didn't. The one thing I didn't like about that episode though was how easily he killed Thanos.
yeah,
I think they could have maybe done a little fight scene between them because I think that would have been really cool to see. Obviously, we would have known Ultron was going to win, but would have been nice to see that extended just a little bit. But overall, I think What If is a really good show. Like I do agree that some of the episodes were boring and not memorable compared to some of the others.
yeah,
Um, but overall, I think What If is obviously a top tier Phase 4 show. That's why it's in my top 3, and I can't wait to see what they do with season 2. So, what do you have as your third place?
I have Loki, which I know.
I thought you'd have it higher.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Loki when it came out, and I still love it. Obviously, I would say 3 and 2 are interchangeable. So Loki might be number 2. I'm not sure. They're kind
Yeah,
of like drawn.
yeah,
Um, but Loki, I love it so much. I mean, it's in my top 3. It's
yeah,
like I love Loki. Obviously, he's been probably one of my favorite characters since like Thor Ragnarok. I'd say, um, just because he's died so many times and he's come back, and in Ragnarok you really saw that he actually
yeah,
cared about
yeah,
Thor
yeah. His character.
instead.
That's when his character started to change more. I agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah, like in Thor 1 and Thor the Dark World, he's kind of, you see him as a villain, and in the Avengers you see him as a villain, but he's really just misunderstood.
yeah,
He was always second best to Thor, and I love how this show focuses on him, and it shows like, because it's old Loki, but he's developed a lot quicker because it's showing like
yeah.
the real him.
He's seen. I guess he's seen it more from an outside perspective than
Yeah,
what he would see inside of his universe. Which obviously we know, if he stayed in the universe, we obviously know what would have happened. It would have been the
yeah,
same as we've seen in the MCU in the past. But I do agree with what you said. Yeah,
yeah. It's like if we went into a cinema and we saw the entire timeline of our life just play out in front of us.
yeah.
Like it,
It would
it
change.
just it would just mess you up, and it
Yeah,
would make you realize the type of person that you are. And he realized that he was, well, not evil, but like he was a bad person, so he changed to what he would have been in Infinity War, like
yeah.
around that time. I also love that it introduced He Who Remains, Kang the Conqueror and everything,
Yeah.
and the other variants of Loki, like Sylvie. I think Sylvie's a great character. Obviously, I still
Oh yeah.
prefer
I
original
can't wait to
Loki.
see Sylvie in the future of the MCU.
Yeah, Sylvie's going to be great. And also, the other Lokis, like there's Boastful Loki with Thor's hammer. There was who else was there? Kid Loki, who killed young Thor.
Yeah.
Who else did we have? We had Classic Loki, obviously, who sacrificed himself by conjuring
Oh
a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
huge Asgard. Um,
Richard E. Grant is the actor. I think he did really well
yeah,
as classic Loki. I thought he did a great job.
I don't think you could cast a better
Yeah.
Classic Loki.
Obviously, I have Loki when I get into it
Yeah,
ranked on my. I'll talk about it as well, obviously because I had it pretty high. But
yeah.
yeah.
And obviously you've got to love Mobius.
Oh
He's
yeah.
he's just amazing.
Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson, yeah, Lightning
Lightning McQueen.
McQueen, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But Loki is number 3, but I think it could be number 2 just because I like those two shows the same amount.
Yeah.
But yeah. So for second place, what have you got?
So second place, I've got One Division. I know you ranked it. Was it fifth or
Yeah,
fourth?
fifth.
I think yeah, fifth. I think that's very controversial because a lot of people love WandaVision.
Yeah.
Not just the whole story. I know a lot of people love Wanda as a character, just alone taken out of the story. I thought they presented her really well in this show. Um, Obviously, this whole saga was dealing with grief, like I said earlier, with Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I think Wanda was the main highlight of that grief in out of the whole of Phase Four because it's a big argument to say that she dealt the most in the MCU. She had
Yeah.
dealt with the most trauma out of a lot of characters. Um,
Possibly
or she
tied with
arguably is
Thor.
up there. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
arguably up there with a lot of characters, and I think this show presented that really well. Taken out of the MCU, I think it dealt with you know grief and how to deal with it very well. And but on the MCU as well in the future, it went off the House of M comic books sort of, but it also changed a lot of it as well.
Yeah.
I think which was good because Marvel studios aren't always going to go off the comics, so it gives a different perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
But I thought White Vision, like you said earlier, was really cool to see, and I can't wait to see him maybe in Armor Wars or Ironheart, whatever he's going to appear in.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed this show. I really enjoyed Agatha as a villain. Like I said earlier, or like we both said, it was unexpected. We didn't see it coming. We thought it was going to be Mephisto as the
Yeah.
main villain of the show, with all the rumors that kept on going around. But we obviously got Agatha, or Agnes, as we knew before that, and it came as a surprise to us, which we didn't expect. And it obviously was a prequel to Multiverse of Madness, as we know.
Yeah.
And at the end of WandaVision, we obviously see the post-credit scene, and I think it sort of went off when we watched Multiverse of Madness. It sort of went off that kind of story because we saw at the end of WandaVision her obviously studying the Darkhold, but then with Multiverse of Madness we just get straight into it. We don't really have a sort of backstory. And I know the original idea for Multiverse of Madness was that she went to kill Mordo or from 616, or they
Yeah.
had ideas to do that. And I think they should have done that really because I think it would have shown her development from the post-credit scene in WandaVision. But
Yeah.
overall, I think WandaVision was just a great show. Obviously, if you love sitcoms and if you're not just a MCU fan, and I think it's great for just fans who aren't fans of the MCU. I think it's good for people to watch just outside of the Marvel universe. Um, but yeah, overall the plot was really good. It was nice to see the House of M storyline getting changed. But yeah, overall, WandaVision is a really good show. And I can't wait to see what they do with the characters that have been left off from it because we still have Agatha, House of Hark. Or no,
Yeah.
sorry, is it House of Harkness now or is it Covenant of Chaos?
Coven of Chaos.
Covenant of Chaos. So I can't wait to see what they do with Agatha in that show because it's going to be a bit different from WandaVision, but I guess it's going to be the same sort of tone because it's obviously still going to be in Westview.
Yeah.
But it's going to be weird to see that in Covenant of Chaos because is the spell going to break because of what happened to Wanda, or if it doesn't break, then I think we know that Wanda's still alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't know what's going to happen in that. But like I said, back to WandaVision, I think it's a good show. I think it sets up it didn't just set up a lot for Multiverse of Madness. I think it sets up a lot for the future of her character because I don't think she died in Multiverse of Madness. I think
Yeah.
she has a big role to play in the future in Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. I think she has a massive role to play in those two movies. But yeah, overall, WandaVision, good story, had a good plot. I do agree with to an extent that it did start off pretty slowly at the start of the show,
Yeah.
especially with the black and white episodes. I didn't really enjoy them, but obviously we had to have a sort of filler episode to start us off. But yeah, from what we saw from her in Endgame, I think it was good to see because we haven't really seen that side of Wanda before WandaVision. We didn't really see much of her grief uh, in Endgame because we didn't really see much of her when she came back from the blip.
Yeah.
We didn't. Yeah, we didn't really get much of her grief before with Pietro. I guess we did see a bit of it in Civil War. We did see a bit of it in that, but we didn't see much of it. And I think WandaVision explained her grief really well.
Yeah.
I think seeing Sword as well. I think that's going to play a big feature if they do bring back Ultron through White Vision as a villain. I think that will be cool to see. But yeah, WandaVision is just a really good show, top tier, and that's why it's at my second spot. So, what's your second spot for Fatal?
So second place, I have Moon Knight, and that is just because I love it so much. I think it could be swapped with Loki. I'm not sure. but I mainly like Moon Knight because Oscar Isaac did such an amazing role,
Yeah,
amazing job. Like
yeah,
you could see it, like when they're in the desert trying to solve the puzzle. You could see how his facial expression just shifts
yeah.
as
It
he
was nice to
turns.
see. Yeah,
Yeah,
when he changed from Stephen Grant to Mark Spector,
yeah,
it's hard to do that sort of role in any acting, not just Marvel. It's hard to do that sort of role in
yeah,
any acting role that you take on. It's hard to go from one character to another if you're playing different personalities. And I think, like you said, he played that really well.
yeah. And that's the main reason I like the show. Obviously, the show was good as well, but I think Oscar Isaac was really the center of what I like about it. Just because, I mean, we saw him in Star Wars and stuff. Poe Dameron. He just
Yeah,
that wasn't the best. And when I heard he was going to be Moon
yeah,
Knight, I was kind of like, uh,
yeah. I think a
is he
lot of
going to be
fans,
that good?
yeah, I think a lot of fans can agree with you that we didn't really have high hopes for Oscar Isaac coming
Yeah,
into the role of Moon Knight. I think he has played good roles outside of Star Wars and big franchises like Marvel and Star Wars. He has played good roles, but from what people know him from Star Wars, he didn't have a good reputation.
yeah. And
Um,
also, X-Men Apocalypse. He wasn't the best. I mean, he was good in that,
yeah,
but he wasn't as good as he could have been.
yeah,
But that's a idea for another day. But Moon Knight, I also love just the entire story. The story was honestly amazing. It's probably one of my
yeah,
favorite stories in the entire MCU. Just because when he got shot, and everyone was just so confused because he's the main character. The show's called Moon Knight. We still have episodes left. He just gets
yeah,
shot,
yeah.
and then at the end you see a talking hippo. It's the most
Yeah, it was a
confusing
good
thing ever.
cliffhanger.
Yeah, and everyone was speculating. Everyone was so confused,
Yeah,
and then
a lot
when
of the
they
points
actually
I've
revealed it, it made sense.
yeah, a lot of the points I've said are going for me putting Moon Knight higher.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed Moon Knight. I'm not saying I didn't like it
yeah,
because a lot of the things I've said about this show have been high praise and positive. I've said more positives than negatives, but I think I've ranked it lower just based on enjoyment. I think, but like I said, What If and Moon Knight on my list can easily change in
yeah,
the space of just a day. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, another thing with Moon Knight that I love is Arthur Harrow, like you said. He's just
yeah,
It was so weird seeing him in the first episode, putting
yeah,
glass in his shoes and stuff like
yeah.
that.
That's literally what we started off with. Like straight away, it was him putting on his shoes,
Yeah, with
and it
glass in
had
them.
glass. Yeah, it was mad.
It's so confusing, and you think, I mean, he had that through the entire show, and he
Yeah,
just didn't show it. He's one of those characters that you're scared of, but there's not really a really good reason for you to be scared of. But he's
yeah,
just creepy.
yeah. I agree. He was a really good villain. I can't remember the actor's name. It's
Ethan
blanking out of my
Hawke.
mind. Ethan Hawke. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played the role really well. I think a lot of the actors in this as well. I thought Layla as well. I forgot to say her earlier. The
Oh
Scarlet
yeah.
Scarab is the character that she had, or when she had the garden, by with her, that was
Yeah.
her character. And obviously the character, the Scarlet Scarab in the comics, is a male, which I thought from the fans would have negative things, as we've seen in the past, negative, I guess, reviews on that, but they didn't. They had a lot of positives on it, which was nice to see.
Yeah. Probably
And I
because
thought
everyone
Layla
thinks she's good looking.
probably, but I think Layla was a cool character, and I think that if they do a season two, or if they do Midnight Suns, it would be cool to see her come back in that.
And now for your number one spot of Marvel Phase 4 TV shows, what is it?
So taking the champion spot for Phase Four shows, I have Loki.
Good choice.
Um, I think Loki, like you said earlier, I know you had it third. I think you had it
Yeah.
as or
Well,
second. Yeah,
changeable between third and second.
yeah. I think overall Loki is just a great show. I don't think they could have made anything better about that show. It sets up everything from Quantum Mania to Kang Dynasty and all the other shows that He Remains is going to be in, and whatever Loki may appear in next. It sets up everything for the multiverse saga that we could possibly think of. When we think of Kang Dynasty, I think we're all going to blame it on Sylvie, which is a nice thing to I guess know because she's a new character setting up a saga which we all love to see.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to portray Sylvie as well because I think her backstory is very. I think it's intriguing to see in the Loki show,
Yeah.
and also the show not only setting up the multiverse saga, but it also keeps to the theme of Phase Four, which was grief, and it showed we should see that through Loki when he's looking back on his time or in the timeline and what happens to him, being killed by Thanos. Obviously, seeing Thor as well, seeing his own death, which messes him up because it's going to mess anyone up.
Yeah.
And seeing that grief from him, which we haven't seen from him in the past, it brings out a different side to Loki, which you said earlier. It brings out a side that we've never seen before. And yeah, I think it was great. He remains as well at the end of time. I thought that was absolutely amazing to see. It's something that we didn't really expect. I don't think any of us really expected to see Kang in that show.
No.
Or a variant of Kang anyway. And I think it ended with the post-credit scene, or not the post-credit scene, but it ended really well as well, showing Kang, or whatever Kang variant that is. I don't really know what Kang variant that could be. It looks like Kang the Conqueror from Quantumania, but we don't really know yet. We know that there's going to be several Kang variants in Loki Season 2, which was sort of confirmed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have much more praise for Loki Season 1 because I thought it's just they perfected everything they could really do in that show. I thought it was a masterclass from Kevin Feige. It's a show that is going to go down on my list. It's the best Phase 4 show in my whole opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, I the whole plot of it as well, the whole story we got from the beginning, it just made a lot of sense. It made loads of sense, and obviously finding out as well what the Avengers did, because knowing the laws of, we were confused that what the Avengers did in Avengers Endgame wasn't, I guess, bad thing compared to what Loki did, because obviously they went back in time, which technically they're not supposed to do. And we found out from Renslayer that they were supposed to do that, and obviously we know that's what Kang wanted them to do, so then he could, in the future, I guess, evolve and become what he needed to be to conquer all the timelines.
Yeah.
And that was nice to know, because it was I guess a tie-in that we were confused about. But yeah, that's why Loki gets top spot for me. I don't have any negatives on it. I thought it was a great show, showing He Who Remains and Loki and Sylvie and all the other Loki variants that you touched on earlier, with Richard E. Grant's classic Loki character and all the other Loki variants we saw. I think overall it was great to see, and yeah, that's why it takes top spot for me. So, what do you have at your top spot?
I think you can all guess what I have at number one. Obviously, it's She-Hulk. It's a perfect show. Nothing is ever wrong with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. Hawkeye's number one for me. Which
That is, I respect your opinion. I think it's controversial, and I can agree with a lot of points you're going to say. But yeah, just carry on.
I'm not going to lie. The main reason it's number one for me is Kate Bishop, because I am a Haley Steinfeld stan. I'm not going to lie. But there are obviously good things about this show. It's got Hawkeye in it, obviously, and he is probably one of my favourite Avengers. He's not my favourite Avenger, obviously, but as time's gone on, I have liked him more and more. We didn't really know much about him when he was first introduced, because he was in Thor, and he was like aiming at him and stuff. But yeah, I like it mainly because it was a Christmas show, and other than No Way Home, like, it was just nice to have something Christmassy, because that year didn't really feel like Christmas. So it's nice to have that. And also, obviously, introducing Kingpin, Wilson Fisk. I think that was really cool. The only problem I had with that was that, Kate Bishop kind of took him down really easily.
I thought that was very confusing because of what we saw with him in the Daredevil show.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know if the Daredevil show is MCU. Was it confirmed?
I'm not sure, but from what we know from Kingpin, either way, even if the Daredevil show isn't MCU canon, I think we still expect a lot more from Kingpin, seeing that we know that in Hawkeye we see him as like, the big bad in New York. Like, he controls it all. Before the blip, he controlled everything, and now he's just trying to get that all back.
Yeah.
And we're going to see that in the Spider-Man movies and Daredevil show as well. But I can agree with what you're saying. I can agree with what your positive points for why you have it first, which I'll make a disclaimer now that there is no right or wrong decisions when we're ranking our lists. So
it's down to personal.
Yeah, it's down to our opinions and how we feel about these shows. So if you guys want to put your opinions down, of course, we'd love to know what you guys rank are at the MCU shows in Phase 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with what you say on Hawkeye, a lot of it. I loved Yelena as well. I didn't touch on Yelena earlier when I spoke about Hawkeye or much. I didn't touch on it much, but I think Yelena Belova in that show was great. I think a lot. It took away a lot of it though with the Kingpin storyline as well. Obviously, Yelena did have a bit to play in that. Obviously, confirming to um, Kate Bishop that her mother was working with Kingpin.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I love Yelena show. I thought her and Kate Bishop have really good chemistry, and I can't wait to see where they appear next in the future of the MCU because I really want to see them together again.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of Bucky and Sam almost.
Yeah,
Kind of a mix with that, and also Natasha and Hawkeye. You know, they had a good friendship
yeah,
as well.
it makes sense as well because the sister of
Yeah,
Natasha.
they're
And I
like the
guess
descendants of them almost.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the main reason I like Hawkeye is because Kate Bishop. I mean, obviously, I do like the actor, but also I do think that she is an amazing character. You know, she's funny, but she's not like constantly funny that it's annoying.
yeah. She had good development in that show as well.
Yeah, and
I feel
same with
like
Hawkeye.
yeah, they did touch on grief, and like we said, the whole I guess whole thing about Phase Four was grief, and
Yeah,
they did
dealing with
touch on
Endgame and stuff.
yeah, they did touch on that with Clint very well, with
Yeah,
obviously the loss of Natasha and dealing, I guess, with the blip as well. Because even now we're in the new saga. A lot of people in the Marvel universe, like I guess just the citizens and I guess the heroes as well, they haven't really gotten used to what happened because it's crazy what happened. The blip and
yeah,
these shows show. I guess dealing with that as well, with grief as well. So I do agree with you what you said about Hawkeye. I think it is a great show. I'm not saying it's a bad show. I'd love to see a season two, and if they do it at Christmas as well, I guess that'll give us the nostalgia of season one.
yeah.
But yeah,
I think my main thing, the main thing that like really got emotions with me was everything about Natasha. Like, you know, when
yeah,
he takes his hearing aid out at the New York Memorial with when he's just talking to Natasha in his head and stuff.
yeah,
That like it really made us think, wow, she's actually gone. You know, she's been in since like early days of the MCU, and she's gone. Um,
yeah,
and then again, when Yelena's like going to kill Hawkeye, and then they talk about her and stuff like that, it really like got emotions up. It was quite sad.
yeah. Also, with Hawk, obviously we made a video on about ranking the MCU movie as well. And Black Widow didn't really touch on the loss of Natasha very much,
Yeah,
which
I think
was a
Hawkeye
bit
redeemed it.
yeah, and yeah, Hawkeye did show the loss of Natasha very much better than what Black Widow did because I felt like they only dealt with the loss of Natasha in the post-credit scene when Yelena was crying when she went to Natasha's grave. I felt like that's the only time they actually acknowledged the fact that Natasha was dead in the MCU.
Yeah,
I think they should have probably done it a bit more in that movie, but I mean, we talk about that in the other video. So, um, but yeah, obviously, I think Hawkeye is a great show. I have nothing against it. I
yeah,
just feel like personally there are better shows in the MCU, but that's just my opinion. I obviously respect your opinion,
yeah.
and yeah,
Um, talking about the loss of Natasha and stuff, I feel one thing. I mean, it's not to do with the list or anything. I feel one time we're going to see that soon is possibly in the next Hulk production, possibly
yeah,
World
World
War
War Hulk.
Hulk. I think we're
Yeah,
gonna hear a lot about Natasha because
I think that would be cool to hear. I think that obviously Bruce didn't really when he came back from Sakaar, we didn't really see much because before he left, obviously we know they had something going in the Age of Ultron
yeah,
before he, and we didn't really see much of that when he came back in Infinity War. There wasn't really much of a connection between them. So I think maybe Hulk remembering her would be nice to see because he was very upset in Endgame when he found out that she was gone. He even tried bringing her back.
yeah, he threw
When
that bench pretty far, you know.
yeah, yeah, even when he was doing that snap, he even tried bringing her back. So I think going into with like you said, that's a good point to make. With World War Hulk, I think they could deal with that, and I think they could touch on um, Bruce losing Natasha because we haven't really seen that with him yet in the MCU.
Yeah, because you know they both thought they were monsters, and they were talking about that in Age of Ultron and
Yeah,
stuff like that. So I
and
think
it
it would
didn't.
be a nice thing to see.
Yeah, and it didn't really go anywhere. So I'd like to see it now because now that she's gone, we can really see the emotion that I guess Bruce had for her and how the feelings he did truly did have for her. But I don't know. Maybe they might do that with World War Hulk, but we'll have to wait and see what
Yeah.
they do with that or show, whatever it may be.
That was us ranking every single Phase 4 TV show. If you did enjoy, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and if you disagree with us, let us know down in the comments of what your ranking is, and I'll see you soon with another video. Goodbye.